Hi everyone, this is ministry video number 6. I really felt like I was supposed to now get back into doing fairly frequent ministry video, just updating for the book of Benjamin Kareth that I'm writing. I've finished 57 books. I'm almost finished with another 7, so I'll have 64 books published here in by April, I think it's 11th. Today is March 7th, 2025. I'm coming out of a season of solitude and obscurity, so I'm re-entering public life for a while, I feel, from the Lord, and it's been kind of like a crazy journey this last week, just getting to this point. I'm still reeling from it, but I did promise on the Undivided Purpose Project curriculum that I'm creating. I have said multiple times on those lesson videos that I'm creating this ministry update video to kind of give everybody an update of what's going on with me. So I'm going to try to make this update fairly quick and it's kind of amazing, but it's kind of how do you shorten a year, the big highlight points in a year and a half. Basically, I left Texas about a year and a half ago and went into solitude, and God sent me all over the country to all the way to Circleville, Ohio. So I've been in Circleville for about a year and a half. Haven't talked to my family, haven't talked to my friends. Felt very disconnected. It's been very hard. Haven't really had anybody. Had a couple of good friends here, but I don't see them that often. Maybe once a week I'll go and, hang out with a friend here or there, but not like anybody that's like living life with me. Definitely no one close to me I've been in contact with. So that's been really lonely and difficult the last year and a half. So last year I moved from one apartment to the other in Circleville, and in that process, a couple months after that, my landlord doubled all the deposits on the apartments, and so my deposit went from $1,000 to $2,040. So I ended up getting a car through the course of last year when I was working, and then I was working at a Love's truck stop in December of 2024, and God had really been putting in my heart again to that I needed to not be working a job, that I needed to be living by faith, and I needed to work on the books. I needed to, and this was over a course of a couple of weeks. He was really putting in my heart. I didn't have any more peace about working. And I was like, well, Lord, I have a car payment, I have rent, I have bills. So I need a clear sign. And so one day I'm at work, and this guy walks up to the register, and he looks me in the face and he says, "Don't work. God says don't work. And if God says don't work, then he has good things for you." And then the guy walked off, disappeared. And I was so stunned by that. I was like, okay, Lord, I get the message. So I called my manager on her little walkie and just asked if I could meet with her. And I went and sat in her office and was like, well, I got to put in my 2 weeks, and kind of explained what had happened. So it was kind of funny. But anyway, so January 2nd of this year, I just did not have a job anymore. So I was like, okay, Lord, I'm living by faith now, trusting you. So I was just working on the 7 books. And then a month later, God would put the Undivided Purpose Project curriculum on my heart. So it was like going from working full-time writing books to writing books. And then all of a sudden, it's like working on the curriculum lessons every day for about 8 hours is what it takes me. So 8 hours of creating the curriculum and writing the books during the day, and the curriculum in the morning. So it's just a lot of work 6 days a week with Sundays off. So this week, the first came around for 1st of March, and I didn't have rent. And I was like, okay, Lord, I'm believing by faith that you're going to provide for me. You said don't work, so I haven't been working for 2 months. And, are you going to provide rent? It was like $1,000. I'm like, are you going to provide it? Are you going to provide it? So for like 5 days, I just wrestled with the Lord with faith. I believed God. I believe God, of course, going to provide for me. I just didn't know how. And it was really stretching my faith, and it was putting me on my face. And God was like, are you going to offer me your apartment? Like, are you going to, lay it in my hands and let go of it? And I was like, I don't understand why you're asking this of me, but that God has asked me to give up so much stuff in my life. I'm just like, okay. I mean, I'm not holding on to it. I like this apartment. It's comfortable. But it's like anything, I want to do God's will more than anything else. So during that, between the 1st and the 5th, I was just like, yeah, of course. I mean, I give you this apartment, Lord. I lay it down at your feet. It's yours, stay or go. I mean, because I thought maybe I'd get evicted, or I was like, if God doesn't provide, then am I going to go through this humiliating process of getting evicted? Like, what does God have planned? I don't never know what God has planned for my life. It's been kind of a whirlwind, crazy journey. So 5th rolled around, God was like, and that was the day that I needed to go talk to my landlords. So, I didn't have rent. It's embarrassing to have to go to your landlord and be like, I'm sorry, I don't have rent, and that's just, I don't know. It's weird to me. Like, how do you tell your landlords that you're living by faith and trusting God to provide for you, but you don't have what you need to, you know what I mean? You can see the point. So that day, that morning, and this is like 2 days ago, God was like, wait till 3 p.m. And so I waited till 3 p.m. And then I went up, and I had this kind of thought about like maybe asking, because my lease is up in April 30th, 2025. So I kind of had this idea of like, maybe I could ask if I could use my security deposit that is like $2,000 to cover these 2 months of rent. I know a lot of things went through my head and I wasn't sure. But then I was like, well, where would I go? And anyway, so I went up there and I had to wait like 45 minutes to talk to her, and she came down and we talked, and I was like, I'm sorry, I don't have rent. This is what happened. This person came, and this is how God confirmed I wasn't supposed to work, and I've been living by faith for 2 months. I just don't have rent. She's like, okay, well, you can fill out a payment plan thing. And I was like, well, I don't know when I don't know when donations are coming in, so I don't know when I'll have money. And I told her that. I was like, well, I'm living by faith. I don't know when money's coming in. And she's like, well, you can always just like amend it. And I was like, I have a question. I was like, is there any way that I could like, use my security deposit to cover March and April's rent, the rest of my lease, so that I'm on good terms? And she's like, oh yeah, we just do I just come do an inspection of your apartment, make sure everything's okay, and then we can use your deposit for the last 2 months of your. I was like blown away. I was like, how many landlords in the world will let you do that? So that was incredible. And I was like, okay. And I'm starting to see like, and then when I left, it was like all the possibilities of, having rent paid for 2 months, but then, having to move out at the end of April, and I don't know I don't have anywhere to go. I just have a car. And so in between the time, after I had talked to my landlord, then God was like, where did I bring you to? And where did you stop driving around the country, when you did the 7 marches? So there's a book of the book of Benjamin Kareth called The 7 Marches. And right before that book, God had told me to drive around the US 7 times, on the highways. And I had finally obeyed. You can read all of the stories in the book, but I'll try to give you like the brief. This was early on too in my journey. So I was still not, it was one of those things like God wanted me to drive around the country, completely not talking to anyone, no family, no friends, just completely by myself, focused on him, driving in circles around the US. So I ended up going to Reading, and I ended up lollygagging, and finally God just made that so uncomfortable, that situation I was in. I finally obeyed him to go on this, this road trip with him so I started driving, and I did 1 loop, and then I did another loop, and he was providing for me the whole way. I was sleeping in my car at rest areas. I was really, really lonely, extremely lonely, just listening to stories of missionaries, audiobooks during the day, and then sleeping in my car. And basically, it was just really hard, and I was really having a hard time with it. Funny looking back now, that God would call me into deeper and deeper levels of solitude. But we always see, hindsight is 2020, So I made 2.5 loops, and I stopped. I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, God, I'm going to go to Reading. I don't know what you want from me. I can't do 7 loops. I'm too lonely. So I stopped doing the loops. And so, yesterday, no, 2 days ago. So like I talked to my landlord and she was like, yeah, we can use your things. And then God was like, where did you make that decision to stop the loops? And so I had to go back to the books. I had to go back to the 7 marches. And actually I had to go back to one of the witness testaments to find the journal entry of when I had like made that decision. And it was like March, it was like May 5th or something like that of 2023 or 21. Maybe it was 21. I don't remember. All these 6.5 years has flown by. So I made the decision to leave at a rest area in Ohio, 3 hours north of where I am right now. And God was like, I brought you back to the place where you chose to stop obeying me all those years ago. So I was like, okay, well, are you going to have me complete the 7, loops? Like I have 4.5 more loops to do, like around the country to finish obeying you. Like I was like, okay. And I was kind of like overwhelmed because I'm like, well, so yesterday I spent the whole day. I had told my landlord that I'd give her a final decision on today, Friday. So yesterday, well, I ended up, God kind of like lifted the whole solitude silence thing Wednesday night after he had been like, well, where did you stop the loops? So I ended up calling my mom and we talked for a while, and then I talked to my sister, and I just really felt like homesickness, and like I really felt like I wanted to go home, and I really felt like I needed to go home, and I didn't have any peace about continuing the loops. So yesterday I wrestled all day long, and in the middle of the day God was so funny. He's like, you're having a really hard time with this. And I'm like, sometimes what God says to me is never like, it's just not helpful. I think he was trying to get me to like, he was trying to get me to understand and give myself grace that I was really having trouble, like with all like everything was happening too fast for me to process through. I'm a really smart person, very emotionally, my emotional intelligence is high, but I've been in solitude for 1.5 years now where it's just been the Lord and I haven't had a lot of like, external people to consider, or I haven't dealt with other people. So Wednesday night when I was talking to my mom and talking to my sister, it was the first time I've talked to someone that was like, that I'm like connected to, in 1.5 years. And I'm still reeling from that, in a lot of ways, because I'm not used to peopling, like talking to someone who I care about and thinking of them, because I've been so in solitude, like it's just been the Lord and I. So yesterday I just spent the whole day processing through, and there was a couple of things that God and I were talking about, and it was like, okay, I have this curriculum you've laid, God's given me this assignment to do this curriculum for this next year until February of next year. And it's intensive, 6 days a week, 8 hours a day to record the videos and then edit them and post them. It's a lot of work. And write the 7 books. I've got a lot that God's asked me to do right now. And I was overwhelmed, I realized, with the thought of maybe having to do loops in my car while trying to do the curriculum and trying to do the books. I was just overwhelmed. And God, finally it was like, okay. And God was like, just go to bed. Like, you're tired, go to bed. So I was like, okay. So I just went to bed yesterday. Got up this morning, did the curriculum, had a meeting, or I was going to go up at 9:00 to talk to the landlord, and I didn't know what decision I was going to tell her. I didn't know what I was going to tell her. I just knew that I was going to go up there when they opened the office at 9. So around 5 in the morning, I felt really strongly to like email my friends who live on the farm in Texas where I was staying before I came out here, and just ask if God was like, just ask him if you can have a call. And I was like, okay. I was like, so I emailed them, and they're my spiritual parents too. So anyway, so he emailed, I emailed my friend, and he emailed me back, and he said, yeah, we're driving at 9:30. So, and I messaged him back, and I was like, okay, I'll call you at 10. And so I just told the Lord, I was like, okay, so let the conversation with my landlord and let the conversation with my friends determine, what happens with moving forward. Like, just give me a sense of what you want me to do through these conversations. So I went up and saw my landlord at 9. I just said, I think I'm supposed to move out. Can we do can we use my deposit? I was kind of like, that was kind of like the fleece, if she was still willing to do that. So we, like, in 5 or 10 minutes, we had worked out, like, she's coming over on Monday to inspect the apartment, which is perfect. I mean, I keep it clean, and I haven't damaged anything. So she's going to come over, then she's going to apply my deposit to my rent, and then, I'm good for rent, basically. And then I was like, well, I'm feeling like I need to leave by the 25th, which is like a Friday of April 25th. I don't know where I'm going yet, but... And she was like, yeah, that's fine. She's like, we can go on and schedule your final exit, inspection that morning at 9. I was like, that sounds perfect. So I have an exit inspection scheduled for April 25th at this apartment. So, and the reason I'm recording this video is because down the road, I'm going to need to look back at this and watch it myself. And I think it helps for people who are following the book series and they're following my journey, and to just kind of give you a general update on what's going on. So I don't forget these things that are happening right now later. I'm trying to write them. I'm also going to write them in the books as well. So I have the record. I'm supposed to keep records of all this stuff that God's doing. So anyway, God had been telling me, so my landlord, like, okay, so rent was covered. The whole 5 days that I was wrestling with God and praying and asking for him to provide, and I didn't know why I didn't have the $1,000 come in as a donation or something to cover my rent. But the whole time God was telling me he had already provided, and I wasn't like understanding that he already provided. He had already provided for my rent last year when I had, when my deposit was doubled, God was providing right then for now. Do you see, like, that's, and I'm still blown away by that, and I'm still processing that God provided for this. I'm not surprised, because that's the way God works. All things together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purposes. That's the verse, right? And I thought, I am so a now person, I didn't even see that the deposit, I didn't even think that was a possibility, because what landlords will let you do that, So he had already provided. So I was spending 5 days on my face, praying and crying out and claiming and naming and all the things and just believing. And God's like, I've provided. And I'm just not, I'm just so blonde sometimes. So anyway, he provided. And so my friends called me. We had a great catch up. I just kind of laid out everything with them and caught up with them. And then I said, hey, I think I want to come home. I want to come stay at the farm again to finish this curriculum. What do you guys think? And then they were totally like willing for me to come down there, and just really like excited to have me come down. And that blessed me so much, because I've been so lonely for so long, and I'm not in solitude anymore, which is amazing. But also I don't know how to process it, because I've been in solitude for 1.5 years. So now being able to talk to my mom, like I called my mom today and I just told her, I'm coming back to Texas. And I told her on the phone, I'm like, because I was kind of overwhelmed even from my phone call with my mom, because I'm not used to people. I realized, like, I was like, whoa. I'm really sensitive. I was an introvert before, but now I'm even more so, just all this time alone where it's just me and God, and now it's me and God and my family again and my friends again, and God's giving all of them back for a while. And I'm just kind of blown away right now of everything that's going on, and I'm just still needing to process through it, a lot of it, I think, and just really understand. I don't know. I feel like I've just been carried along this journey with God for the last 6.5 years, and he's had his purposes in all of it, even in me stopping the loops. And I think I will finish the loops someday, but I don't think there's any way that I could do the loops, drive around the country 4.5 times and try to do the curriculum and try to write the books. There's just too many. I have a capacity. That's like God and I were talking yesterday. I have a capacity of what I'm able to like, do. I can't do so many things. I can't do too many things. Like I'm already writing 7 books is enough. And then God's like, do this curriculum. And that's a whole nother level. And it's not something I can even take a day off of doing, because if it takes me 8 hours to do a lesson, if I take a day off from it, like I'm stressing out already, not stressing, but to drive down to Texas, I'm going to have to take, I'm going to miss a lesson. So that means I'm going to have to do 16 hours one day to catch up the lessons so that the curriculum is carrying on, because I'm writing a book with the curriculum. I'm assuming there's a few people, at least 1 or 2 that are doing the curriculum. So they're expecting the lessons to be done every day. So I can't take a week off. I've got a year of just doing the curriculum. So that's important that I continue to do that in the context of so talking with my mom, she was like, well, why don't you visit blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, look, I'm coming back to, to be around and to see you guys, but it's going to have to be around the curriculum, around the book writing. Like those are still the priorities. And I have to learn to be like, hey, no, I can't do that right now. And I have to find my voice and find my way to be like, I want to see you. I miss you. This is the time I have to give you. I'm glad that I'm coming back, but I have to find that in myself, how to do the boundaries with the social, with not being in solitude, because solitude is such a boundary. It's such a huge boundary. I can't talk to you. I can't respond to you. I'm focused on what God's doing, and they're all comfortable with that, and they know. And so they respect that boundary. But when there's not that boundary there, it's like I have to learn. I can't come up and see my family every weekend. I need to focus on, because God told me too, yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday, God was like, sleep is going to be very important for you this next year. As you're doing this curriculum and as you're writing the books, sleep is very important. You need to be getting sleep. You get weak and you get tired and you get vulnerable when you don't sleep. So you need to sleep. And God told me that yesterday. And I was like, okay. I was like, then I need to focus on sleep. Like right now it's almost 5 and that's my bedtime. And I got to get up tomorrow and do a curriculum. But I promised that I would do, or I said that I was going to do this ministry update video. So now I've done it. So that's basically what's going on. Is I'm going to go back to Texas. I'm going to continue the curriculum. I'm going to get set up down there so I can do the curriculum every day and continue the lessons. I'm going to continue writing the books. By the time the curriculum's done, and around May of next year, we'll be done with I think it's 85 books, 86 books. So we're well into getting, the finish line is coming up. So I'm excited about that, because it's been the book series being done will be very nice, because that is just a thing, that completing that and doing what the Lord's told me to do. And now this curriculum, it's okay, faithful endurance, be diligent, complete what God's asked me to do. I want to complete the 2 things God's given me to do, the curriculum and the book writing. And now it feels like also I'm going back into public life. So I've got to figure out what that looks like for me, and coming back to community after not being in community. So that'll be interesting. I think it's a season of socialization and pouring out again after a really long season of solitude. And if you follow the journey and read the books, God started off with very small chunks. I think it was in one of the previous ministry videos, God had me shut off my phone for 2 days and not talk to anybody when I was in the Atlanta airport. And I was it was the worst thing ever. And then slowly over time, God's been increasing the amount of time that I've been spending alone with him. Driving around the country for those 2.5, that was 63 days or 33 days. I can't remember the exact number of days. It was a lot of days by myself, no contact with anyone. And I really struggled with that 30 days or whatever it was, 30, I think it was 30 or 60 anyway. And then it's been 1.5 years now since this time of solitude. So I'm really excited to be out of it, though, out of solitude. God is still really important. I'll spend lots of time with him. But now there's that element of how do I how do I re-enter all of this? So that's the update. I'm really hungry. I'm going to go eat my dinner now at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I'm going to go, I'll upload this, and then I'm going to go to bed so I can get up and do curriculum tomorrow, so I can make sure that I'm doing what God's called me to do. So that's the update. I'm going to try to do update videos as often as there's stuff to update so that I'm keeping track for myself, because one of the books of Benjamin Kareth towards the end is it's called Where I've Been, and I've got to kind of do like I'm going to look back. I think that book is, I don't know when I get there, but where there's 2 books at the very end of the series. One is Where I've Been and Where I'm Going. So the Where I've Been book, I've really got to chronicle, and both in the books, in the witness testaments, and in video, and any way that I can chronicle what God's doing, I need to be doing that for my own, for when I have to do that autobiography type book. So thanks for watching. Yeah, this is a ministry update. If you want to subscribe to the blog, you can always go to tbobkministries.com and go to the ministry updates page, and it just says enter your email. Just checking that page for posts is always good, because lots of people have told me that they're getting the emails, they're not getting the emails, they're coming to spam, they're not coming to spam. So even signing up for the emails, there's not a sure thing that you're going to get updates if you're following the book series and if you're following the curriculum. So making sure that you're just every once in a while checking back on that ministry updates page so you're reading the latest post is great. Other than that, if you want to support the journey at all, I'm completely living by faith, and will be living by faith until the book series is done. So if you want to give a gift, there's on the tbobkministries.com. There's a page, through the menu that says support the ministry, and there's GoFundMe, and there's also Modern Day. You can donate through either of those. Modern Day, I know, lets you do like a reoccurring donation if you want to do that. There's a few people who do that, small gifts over the course every month, and I'm so grateful for those. And then if you want to just give like a gift at all, you can do that through the support the ministry. And I'm very grateful for that, because that's what I'm living on, to do all of this. And I'm doing the curriculum completely free. That's not going to be monetized. It's not going to be ads. It really annoys me when ministries do that. But God calls everybody to do things differently. But for this, I want this to be the curriculum. I want to be completely free. I want people to just be able to watch it and not be bothered with ads, and not be bothered with me asking for money constantly. So if you see God's hand on any of this and you feel led to be generous and give, then I would really appreciate that as well. Thank you for watching, and thank you for following along, and I will see you next time.